Nyatutau. Welcome to the Ali Cadre presentation of the World Humanities Summit. It's my pleasure to, at this time, to introduce the delegates of the nations which have come together for this summit conference. Our host country, the Republic of Palau, Kobe Moses, and Omar Ubade. From the Federated States of Micronesia, Benali Benjamin. From Japan, Eldon Matthew Mangron and Angel Joy Pastrana. From Kiribati, Henley Kenner. From the Republic of the Marshall Islands, Rikan Masubada and DiCaprio Siske. From the independent state of Samoa, Imangala Sinichi. From Vanuatu, Brandon Mangaloy. From the Solomon Islands, Judge Masao and Tommy Mirablu Jr. From the Republic of China, Taiwan, Emmanuel Boris and Jose Thomas. From the United States of America, Nirupita Wali and Derek Alexander. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our welcoming speaker. We gather here as parents and as educators and as delegates. As an educator and a parent, there's always a special place in my heart, and I'm sure in all the other parents' hearts, for our leaders who take a sincere interest in our children's education and welfare. Our speaker this morning has done so throughout the course of her career, and even more so since her short time in Palau. She has been instrumental in developing reading programs in the elementary schools, working with the Ministry of Education as a guest reader. She's gone to almost the farthest north school and worked with Head Start children and other schools throughout the islands. That takes a lot of time away from a person with a very busy schedule. So I would like to introduce you with great pleasure, the Ambassador of the United States of America, the Honorable Amy J. Hyatt.
Good morning. Well, it is my pleasure to be here with all of you today as we start the final part of the Ali Cadre program. I've heard a bit about what you've been doing this week, and it sounds very impressive. I'm sure you're very excited to get started with this portion of it, and I know that you're going to do your country and your parents and your families proud. It sounds like you've been working hard, and I know and I hope that you will be getting a lot out of this program and that it will have a continuing impact on the rest of your lives. I know you've learned a lot about the United Nations, about how countries like Palau prepare for disasters, and how careful advanced planning can save lives. Some of you have had the opportunity to represent other countries. They say it is hard to understand another person or another country unless you've had an opportunity to walk a mile in their shoes. Well, this program has given many of you that opportunity to walk in the mile of the shoes of others. I hope that will help you understand the perspective of another country. And that's important. As this world gets smaller through globalization, the internet, TV, tourism, all of those things that bring us closer, in a sense, to others, it is really important to understand them as well. Being able to visualize things from another person or another country's perspective is crucial. It's crucial for peace and for prosperity for all of us. So this program has given you the opportunity to grow that kind of understanding. But sometimes the most important lessons are not the ones that you might expect. On top of gaining information about disaster planning and response and learning about the perspectives of other countries, you have also learned a lot about how to work together as a team. You've learned how to share ideas, respect each other, and to think outside the box creatively and to advocate your position with respect. Those lessons are particularly invaluable. They will empower you to do whatever you choose to do with your lives. So whether your future path will be involved in disaster planning and focused on climate change or some other career, the most important thing, though, is that you prepare yourselves to make contributions to Palau. You will soon enter the world of adulthood, and with that comes many responsibilities and opportunities. It is important that now you start and continue to grab all the knowledge and experience you can, because your country is counting on you. Thank you and good luck today and in the future.
Thank you, Ambassador Hyde, and thank you for your support of the Ali Cadre program. This program is really an example of a group of different organizations working together, and I'd like to real briefly acknowledge our partners. First of all, USAID, which has provided funding for the program. The Ministry of Education is instrumental and one of our strongest partners anybody could ever hope for. Their support and enthusiasm over what the program is developing is something which has really made it special. We also have a very strong relationship now with the Palau organization, and so as a result, with those organizations going forward, we anticipate the next era of the Cadre program next year to be even stronger than this year's. So now I'd like to introduce one of our most important partners, the Ministry of Education, the Chief of School Management, Mr. Ray Mullen.
Ali, Malungit Tutaw, let me first extend a warm welcome to all the summit delegates. Palau is extremely grateful for hosting this summit. Climate change is a global issue that has affected many countries and livelihoods around the world. And through this summit, we are confident that you will come up with some concrete ideas that will provide a way forward in responding to natural disasters and climate change. On behalf of all the citizens of Palau, we welcome you all once again, and we request that you find the time from your busy schedule to enjoy a bit of Palau, the Palau pristine paradise before you leave, and we wish you a successful summit. And now I declare this meeting open, and I will hand it over to the chair.
I will now call the House to order. As per order of proceedings, I will first conduct the roll call of honorable country representatives. Please indicate your attendance by raising your country placard. The Republic of Palau. the Federated States of Micronesia, Japan, Kiribati, Republic of the Marshall Islands, Independent State of Samoa, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, the Republic of China, Taiwan, the United States of America.
We will now begin our dialogue that will include 3 plenary sessions, where country representatives will be invited to present on specific commitments relating to this roundtable on natural disasters and climate change, managing risks and crisis differently. Each delegate will be given 3 minutes to make presentations on the effects of climate change and increasing disasters have had on each of their countries and propose 1 recommendation for the agenda of humanity, outcome document for this World Humanitarian Summit. Honorable delegates are kindly reminded that the duration for speeches will be 3 minutes and that comments or questions will not be allowed subsequent to each country presentation. This will be permissible in the ensuing moderated caucus where country representatives are given the opportunity to present their views on proceeding country position on the topic discussed. All motions and consequent opinions will be moderated, and honorable representatives are kindly reminded that the chair has the power to consent to or forbid any arguments presented at this forum.
The first session will be on the topic of Core Commitment 1, to commit to accelerate the reduction of disaster and climate-related risks through the coherent implementation of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Reduction 2015 to 2030 and the UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030. The speakers for this session will be the representatives from the Republic of Palau, Samoa, and Japan. Upon conclusion of each panel, the chair will note recommendations from each country, and this will be the focus of the ensuing discussion. As the chair of this session, we, the representatives of Palau, will take the floor. Fellow delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Ali and welcome to the Republic of Palau. Our island is home to one of the world's most biodiverse ecosystems, boasting over 1,300 species of fish and 700 species of corals. We are home to beautiful islands and white sandy beaches where our children, future leaders, carve miniatures of their vivid imaginations. What Palau stands out for is our leadership in the field of conservation of both terrestrial and marine ecosystems, having already achieved the targets of the Micronesia Challenge. We Palauans coexist with our land and our oceans. We are interconnected. Our land and ocean provide us food, medicine, and provisions, while we offer care and protection. This relationship between Palauans, the earth, and the sea has been the core of our culture and identity. The balance is not risked due to the increasing threats and dangers posed by climate change. Climate change has caused many issues, such as land and coastal erosion, difficulties with growth of crops, and the availability of safe, usable water. In recent years, climate change has been responsible for serious disasters in our country. Typhoons Haiyan and Gopha left our coastlines eroded, our houses destroyed, and our boats wrecked, and our lives changed. The recent drought has left our island with dried up crops and farmland. The effects of these disasters can still be seen and felt today. We are still trying to recover and rebuild our precious home, as well as trying to find new strategies to protect our nation and people within our nation.
The Republic of Palau has a disaster and risk management plan. A plan that we use to ensure that we are able to quickly recover and to respond to the disaster we face. This plan has been tested in the disaster situations that Palau has faced over in the recent years. Our plan has worked well, but there's always room for improvement. Palau, along with the rest of the countries at this table, were a part of the 2015 meeting in Japan that we were committed to 4 important goals that enable enhanced global disaster risk reduction and increased capacity to fulfill our obligations of the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Management states that we must understand the risks, strengthen global governance, invest in institutions, and build resilience to respond to the increasing threats of disasters in our world. Therefore, the country of the Republic of Palau, under Core Commitment 1, recommends that all states should ensure the realignment of their disaster management plans with the Sendai Framework for the Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you, and I now return the floor to the chair.
We will now call upon the representative of Samoa to please take the floor.
Fafatai, thank you, Chair. Talofa, greetings, fellow delegates. I am here on behalf of Samoa. I would like to thank the Republic of Palau for hosting and gathering us all here in this meeting. It is an honor to be here with you all to make effective change for the betterment of our nations, people, and biodiversity. Samoa is an independent nation in the southwestern Pacific region in Polynesia that is famed for natural beauty, reef-bordered beaches, lush rainforests, and majestic waterfalls. We have 6 islands with only 4 being inhabited. We are a beautiful nation with narrow coastal plains and volcanic rocky rock mountains. Sadly, it's a shame that my nation, along with many other nations, are being greatly affected by climate change. We are a proud nation, but how can we continue to be proud if climate change and natural disasters are slowly killing us little by little? In 2008 and 2011, flooding from tropical cyclones caused widespread damage. These events severely damaged infrastructure, water supplies, and transportation, displacing many people from their homes. Tropical cyclones are not new to us. From 1969 to 2010, between the months of November to April, we had 52 tropical cyclones passed by a PM. Cyclones vary each year, and with the changing climate, it may get worse. The worst disaster to hit Samoa in recent times was the earthquake and tsunami in September 2009. Waves about 46 feet high hit our coastline. Entire villages were completely destroyed, displacing an estimated 3,000 people and killing hundreds. Thankfully, the government of New Zealand, USA, and Canada and Australia came to our rescue. New Zealand donated $12 million alone, and organizations like the Red Cross and Oxfam worked on the grounds to ensure safety of our citizens. As a result of this devastating event, Samoa developed the National Action Plan for Disaster Risk Management and the National Disaster Management Plan, but both will expire this year. Under the goals of the Sendai Framework, Samoa will review and enhance these plans and extend them into the future. We are a developing country and poverty is rare. Rural communities in areas that are vulnerable to cyclones and other natural disasters. It has had great impact on our nation and the people. A few years back, Cyclone Evan devastated our people. More than 5,550 people were left to live in shelters to seek refuge after the cyclone. It did great damage to our country and most especially the people. We have undergone sea level rising, increasing temperature, loss of biodiversity, and have become more vulnerable to volcanic activity. Yet, even despite this, we still continue to fight. Samoa cares about our future and appreciate the collaboration of our friends and partners. Like many of you sitting at this table today, we have been an active player in the international discussions and development of frameworks on climate change, disaster risk management, and sustainable development goals, and are working nationally to ensure we meet the commitments we have endorsed globally. With so many frameworks, necessary mandates, and very important issues to prioritize, we hope to streamline our national plans to ensure that we are all working together towards our common goals. Based on this, the country of the independent state of Samoa, under Core Commitment 1, recommends that all nation priorities include a more integrated approach to planning for climate change adaptation, disaster risk reduction, response and recovery, ensuring that all plans under the United Nations are complementary and collaborative. I now give the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, Honorable Representative from Samoa. We will now call upon the Honorable Representative from Japan to please take the floor.
Konnichiwa, Ohayo gozaimasu, Honorable Chairperson. We would like to deeply thank you for welcoming us into a beautiful island with such hospitality and respect. It is a privilege to be here in this gathering. I want to thank all fellow delegates and audience who are currently present at this meeting that is being held today. Japan is quoted as the land where the sun rises. The tall mountains surround our nation not only in purpose of boundaries, but protection towards natural disasters and hazards. The tranquil environment, along with its well-disciplined people, unites us a harmonious nation. Our country has successfully preserved its traditions over the past years. Even through the changing times, we still come to practice our rich culture. We are known for our advanced technology, hence our ranking as third in the world's highest economy. Japan, as you may know, has raised funds to be used specifically for disasters that occurs outside our borders and affects our beloved and trusted friendly allied nations. However, we the people of Japan are not exempted to these natural disasters and hazards. Just as recently as March 11, 2011, the Tohoku region was hit by an earthquake that measured magnitude 9 on the Richter scale, which caused significant damage and casualties to Japan and its people. Not only that, but less than an hour after the earthquake, the first of many tsunami waves hit Japan's coastline, killing thousands of people and destroying properties which cost millions and millions of dollars. Not only this, but the tsunami damaged one of our main sources of energy, a nuclear power plant along the coast, causing widespread devastation.
Climate change is another factor that caused various problems for our nation. Our government, in turn, created an action plan to fight climate change. As of now, we are trying to continually reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that we produce, and we are determined to lead the way for the reduction of emissions globally. Japan also contributed $1.5 billion to the Green Climate Fund, which has enabled the fund to start its preparations to help support and developing countries across the world, including Pacific Island nations. Another major problem that Japan is facing right now is the rising sea level. It is said that a sea level rise of 3.3 feet can put 4.1 million people at risk of flooding and a high probability of them losing their homes and sources of income. It is predicted that coastal flooding could put nearly $1 trillion worth of assets of Japan at risk. Decisions we make today could have a profound impact on the security of the people of this diverse and traditionally oriented nation, and also the world itself and all of its inhabitants. Japan is proud of our contributions towards disaster recovery and risk reduction throughout the world, and strongly suggests that other countries with the means follow our lead, especially Taiwan and the United States of America. Therefore, Japan, under the Core Commitment 1, recommends that a mechanism is established for capable countries to contribute increased and targeted funding that supports the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in developing countries in order to ensure their achievement. Thank you, and I now return the floor to the Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Representative from Japan.
I thank the honorable representatives for those informative presentations. Can I request the Secretariat team please highlight the recommendations from the speeches? We will now proceed with our discussion on recommendations under Core Commitment 1. All final recommendations should represent the interest of all the nations present at this meeting. Representatives, please indicate your desire to make a point, statement, or suggest a change to the recommendations by raising your placard when asked to do so. This will be recognized by mention, and should there be multiple interests shown, they will be put in the order by which they were sought recognition. I now open the floor for discussion on recommendation number 1. Please raise your placard if you'd like to comment. Thank you. You may lower your placards. The chair recognizes the representative of the Solomon Islands.
The Solomon Islands, having a strong disaster management plan, strongly supports this recommendation.
We now recognize the representative of Kiribati.
So 4 years ago, Kiribati had realigned its disaster management plan. And if we were to realign this disaster management plan with Sustainable Development Goals, which target date is the year 2030, are we supposed to realign it again after the year 2030 if we were to endorse it?
Not only the Sustainable Development Goals, we also want to realign it with the Sendai framework. So yes, we might have to update the framework in the year 2030. But all the nations should be up to date to 2015. We have now concluded our discussion on recommendation number 1. Please indicate your endorsement for this recommendation by raising your country placards. Majority approval confirms this recommendation. Endorsed.
We will now continue with our discussion on recommendations under Core Commitment 1. All final recommendations should represent the interests of all the nations present at this meeting. I now open the floor for discussion on recommendation number 2. Please raise your placard if you would like to comment. We have concluded discussion on recommendation number 2. Please indicate your endorsement of this recommendation by raising your country's flag. Majority approval confirms the recommendation. Endorsed.
We will now continue with our discussions on recommendations on the Core Commitment 1. All final recommendations should represent the interest of all nations present at this meeting. I now open the floor for discussion of recommendation number 3. Please raise your placard if you would like to comment. The chair recognizes the representative of the Solomon Islands.
The Solomon Islands recommends that the funds also support the achievement of both the Sustainable Development Goals and the Sendai Framework for Global Priorities.
We have concluded discussion on recommendation number 3. Please indicate your endorsement of this recommendation by raising your country placards. Majority approval confirms this recommendation. You may lower your placards now.
The second session will be on the topic of Core Commitment 2, to reinforce national and local leadership, including the full inclusion and participation of women, and develop capacities in managing disaster and climate-related risks. The speakers for this session will be the representatives from the Solomon Islands, the Federated States of Micronesia, the Republic of China, and the Republic of China, Taiwan. Upon conclusion of each panel, the chair will note recommendations from each country, and this will be the focus of the ensuing discussion. We will now call upon the representative of the Solomon Islands to please take the floor.
Vea Sigoy, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kelly Farah and Hanaroy Kelly, greetings and good morning from the people of the wonderful Solomon Islands. Thank you, Palau, for hosting the 2016 World Humanitarian Summit, and as you say, Masulang. My fellow delegates, thank you for making time to be with us this wonderful morning. The people of the Solomon Islands express their deepest appreciation for allowing us to partake in this symposium. The Solomon Islands is best known for being the pearls of the Pacific where sun sets, paradise begins. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow delegates, the Solomon Islands is known for many things. However, I am not here to tell you about our crystal blue seas, or our exotic biodiversity, or our body-soothing palm oil, but I will tell you about our abundant culture and our strong traditions. Our strong belief for unity makes our island culturally strong and has kept the ties with our tradition unbreakable. Located in Oceania, many of us can relate to life living on an island surrounded by water, nothing but the mighty seas. The challenges we have to face, the disasters we are most vulnerable to, hazards such as sea level rising, coastal erosions, droughts, tsunamis, earthquakes, and cyclones. We have a similar case, fellow delegates, a threatening case. Recently, 5 of our islands have been completely swallowed by the sea, and since 1950, natural disasters have directly affected more than 3.4 million people and led to more than 1,700 deaths in our region. And in the 1990s alone, reports natural disasters in the Pacific Islands region cost $2.8 billion US. The 2013 tsunami left our island devastated with 1,000 homes affected and 11 deaths. We are very fortunate for funds and outside ties that have helped us through crises like these. Helps like the Global Facility for Disaster Reduction and Recovery, which is a UN partnership for an international strategy for disaster reduction and recovery. Helps like the USAID Office for Foreign Disaster Assistance and the World Bank. With disasters, we have seen evident effects of what climate change can do to our homes, obliterating our childhood memories, destroying what our ancestors used to call home, what we call home. What is there left for us when we have nowhere to call home? What is there left for our children, our grandchildren? What is still there to be proud of, to take pride in, to strive for? Our islands will be nothing but a memory, nothing but a picture, nothing but a postcard. We are here to draw a line, to say enough is enough, including and strengthening our management team, bringing women into administration. We strongly feel we will not only better ourselves, but strengthen our communities by working together towards nothing but the better of our lands and our nation.
Delegates, under core commitment 2, Solomon Island recommends that all government and non-government organizations should provide educational opportunities for women in all development areas, and especially in areas such as gender leadership, governance, democracy, human and legal rights. This will include training for managing disasters and climate-related risks. All government should commit to allocating 15% of government funds to support these activities and adding to annual funding budget for emergencies and specific climate-related risks. It all takes the effort of everybody: men, women, children, government officials, citizens, students, and the entire community. It is our land, our home, and delegates, as the saying goes, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Thank you. Very Siboy Misulang, and I return the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Honorable Representative from the Solomon Islands. We will now call upon the Honorable Representative from the Federated States of Micronesia to please take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Ran Anin Leno, Australian Macadam fellow delegates. I am representing the beautiful country of Federal State of Micronesia. My country is located on the Northern Pacific region and is comprised of 4 states. The first state is Chuuk, known for its diving site. The second is Kosrae, we call it the island of sleeping lady. The third is Siak, is known for its giant stone mound. Last but not least, Tampay, known for its many last waterfalls and home to the famous landmark from the ruins of Nandaboy, a Macalithic ancient city where an ancient traditional chief lived. When it comes to climate change, my country understands and cares about its effect. Many islands of the FSM have been completely eroded due to climate change. When you walk to the beach, we will find the big tree affected by current coastal erosions. The change in climate has made an effect on sea level, causing it to increase, destroying many islands in the ocean. Many freshwater wells have been salinated due to the inundation, which for it is not recoverable. Now affected communities have to depend on rainwater, therefore increasing their vulnerability due to risk of droughts. The sea level rising has destroyed many local theropods as well as food crops are a major source of food for many islanders. Though the people of FSM are struggling right now, they have high hopes of getting through the situation. Our island have raised us from when we were young until this moment, strengthening our connection with our island and its ally. In March 29, 2015, Typhoon Mesa in Chu destroyed many homes and vegetation and displaced about 6,000 people. Then it hit Yap and the day after as a super typhoon. Crops died and many people struggled with hunger. When visiting the island states, we feel emotional. What once covered with lush forest and lively communities is now a big runway and an airport. When you step on the other side, you can see the other end of Thailand due to the devastation of the typhoon. In the aftermath, people all over the world, United States, Japan, China, Australia, and European Union helped in recovery of these states. It gathered $14.5 million in funds for many different countries. But still, we struggle and have yet to recover. This topic can teach us what to do and how to be prepared for disaster. So when a wind stronger than the winds before face us again in the future, we can be brave, strong, and prepared to tackle wherever those strong winds throw on our way. Under core commitment 2, the federal state of Micronesia strongly recommend that the countries with disaster management plan provide guidance, assistance, and technical support to those who are working to establish the disaster management plan, with the goal of ensuring equal gender participation in all steps of planning and resources and response. I now return the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Honorable Representative from the Federated States of Micronesia. We will now call upon the Honorable Representative from the Republic of China, Taiwan, to please take the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Ni hao, Ali to everyone, fellow delegates, decision makers, and friends. Masulang Palau for being the honorable host of the historical gathering of the 2016 World Humanitarian Summit held here in your beautiful island nation. The Republic of China, Taiwan sits a few miles east of China's coastline. We are proud of our scenic mountain landscapes, developed economy, and rich abundance in natural resources. We are also proud and care for the welfare and safety of many Pacific nations and their people through climate change and its disastrous effects. Over the years, we have aided struggling Micronesian countries, and we plan to keep it that way. To be by your side as we endure the worst of the effects of climate change. We are happy and willing to help countries better yourselves and be more sustainable and resilient against climate change.
Throughout the years, the fate of our nation has been thrust into a ragged path despite our rapid economic growth and industrialization. The abrupt change in our environment gave birth to a multitude of well-aware conflicts that concerns everyone on a global scale. Our climate is getting warmer. This is obvious in our country. The temperature has risen, massive precipitation, and terrifyingly, our coasts were observed retreating. These changes struck the greatest impacts throughout history. It has spilled out issues and challenges that only hinder us in trying to thrive smoothly and prosper. Our country is unable to relish in the wealth our island possesses. We are central to any natural disaster, knowing that in just one catastrophic event, our hard work will have been in vain, as was the case with 2009 Typhoon Morapat, the most devastating typhoon that ever landed in Taiwan. It drowned the country and caused devastating damage, killed many people, and caused suffering for survivors. Bearing an erratic rainfall, land eroded and buried lives, destroyed many infrastructures, disrupted the normal way of living in the country, and brought horror to all countrymen. This tragedy pushed us to work hard on our vulnerabilities toward natural disasters. Physical developments in most susceptible areas has been done in the country, and the National Government Council already established several policy frameworks and plans that help to increase awareness toward climate change and natural disasters. Therefore, the country of the Republic of China Taiwan, under Core Commitment 2, recommends that the establishment of annual summits for climate change and the affected countries is funded to discuss and share ideas on improving knowledge, awareness, planning, and response to ensure that the citizens of the most vulnerable countries have all the information and awareness necessary to reduce their risks to natural disasters by 2020. Thank you. I now return the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Honorable Representative from the Republic of China, Taiwan.
We thank the honorable representatives for those informative presentations. Can I request the Secretariat team please highlight the recommendations from the speeches. We will now proceed with our discussion on recommendations under Core Commitment 2. All final recommendations should represent the interest of all the nations present at this meeting. Representatives, please indicate your desire to make a point, statement, or suggest a change to the recommendations by raising your placard when asked to do so. They will be recognized by mention, and should there be multiple interests shown, they will be put in the order by which they were sought recognition. I now open the floor for discussion on recommendation number 1. Please raise your placard if you would like to comment.
Thank you. You may lower your placards. I now give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Palau.
A question to the Solomon Islands. Can you please clarify your recommendation?
Our recommendation says all government and non-government organizations should provide educational opportunities for women in all development areas, and especially in areas such as gender leadership, governance, democracy, and human and legal rights. This will include training for managing disaster and climate-related risks. A commitment to allocate 50% of government funds to support these activities should be added to annual funding budgets for emergencies and specific climate-related risks. We kind of align that with the Sustainable Development Goals, which on goal number 5 says gender equality. And I'm going to use a country in the Pacific such as Tuvalu. Their disaster management plan has no women actually involved in decision making or in the government for that matter. And to clarify that is to say, governments and non-governmental organizations provide better opportunities for women so that they're better involved in decision making and the community as well. Allocating 15% of government funds to make this, to provide money to support these activities such as those mentioned above. And the funds also specifically climate-related risks and not just typhoons or in general disasters that happen to our lands. Thank you.
I have a statement to say. It says here under core commitment 2, it states that to reinforce national and local leadership, and including the full inclusion and participation of women, and to develop capacities in managing disaster and climate-related risk. I have one question back to the Solomon Islands. Why is your wording saying all government and non-government organizations should instead of using the word must?
Because we cannot force the non-governmental organizations to provide the funds or do provide those educational opportunities, so we're encouraging them to do so. But the government should provide those.
And why allocate only 15% of the government funds?
Because for our low economies, as most of us Pacific Islanders, we cannot provide bigger percentage just for the better education just for women or specific just for women.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I now give the floor to the representative of Japan.
Okay, we support the question of Palau and thank you for that beautiful answer.
I now give the floor to the representatives of the Republic of China, Taiwan.
Our question has been answered by the Solomon Islands. Thank you.
We have concluded discussion on recommendation number 1. Please indicate your endorsement of this recommendation by raising the country's flag. Majority approval confirms the recommendation. Endorsed. We will now continue with our discussion on recommendations under Core Commitment 2. All final recommendations should represent the interest of all the nations present at this meeting. I now open the floor for discussion of recommendation number 2. Please raise your placard if you'd like to comment. Thank you. You may lower your placards. I now give the floor to the representative of Kiribati.
So the country of Kiribati has a disaster management plan. However, our country is not as rich as other countries in the room, so we're not quite sure if we're able to provide guidance, assistance, and technical support to those who are establishing the disaster management plans, because at the moment, we're receiving a ton of help from the United States and from the Republic of China, Taiwan. So my question is basically saying, what if a country is incapable of helping, but wants to, but unfortunately doesn't have the resources to help out?
Well, that's up to the country if they want to help or not. But, yeah. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the representatives of the Solomon Islands.
Kiribati, it says provide guidance doesn't really mean providing monetary funds. You can go and help them improve their disaster management plans by advising them on how better to prepare themselves, not really provide monetary funds to support the recommendation. Thank you.
I understand what you mean, and it's not technically a financial thing. It's just that the island of Kiribati, unlike the Solomon Islands, the whole place is sinking. We need as much help as we can get. We can provide assistance to other countries such as FSN if we ourselves are struggling in how to find an answer to stop our country from sinking. So I understand that the Solomon Islands, like what you said earlier, has islands that already have sunk. However, Kiribati, with only 33 atolls and islands, cannot help. Like what she said, if we can help, we want help, but we have full support of this, 100%.
To a matter of time, Solomon Islands, this will be your last statement.
Thank you, Chair. I strongly support that because working together we can better ourselves, and then working with the FSM in return, I think they can better help you or even provide land for you since you're sinking. They can help. This can be a back-to-back thing. If you help them later in the future, if you need help, you can ask the FSM for help. Thank you.
We have concluded discussion on recommendation number 3. Please indicate your endorsement of this recommendation by raising your country's placard. Majority approval confirms the recommendation. Endorsed. We will now continue with our discussion on recommendations under Core Commitment 2. All final recommendations should represent the interests of all the nations present at this meeting. I now open the floor for discussion of recommendation number 3. Please raise your placard if you'd like to comment. Thank you. You may lower your placards. I now give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Palau.
This is a question to the Republic of China, Taiwan. We understand the recommendation, but I have one question. How does this help include the full inclusion and participation of women when all it says here, you're establishing another summit by 2020?
With all due respect, it is also in the under core commitment to enforce national and local leadership and to develop capacities in each of disaster and climate related risks to all the countries. So our recommendation is to establish an annual summit for the goal that all the citizens of each countries have that knowledge towards climate and natural disasters, so that by 2020 everyone has the equal knowledge towards climate change and natural disasters, so they know how to prepare and how to save lives in the future in case of the natural disasters. Thank you.
By the year 2020, it says here that you make a summit for natural disasters in the midst. An awareness to show all citizens that they are able to have the full education and the full understanding of climate change. Will women be involved in this summit?
Everyone is involved here.
I have one recommendation, is that we ensure the inclusion and participation of women in this recommendation number 3.
I now give the floor to the representative of the Solomon Islands.
Like what the chairman said, we think the annual summits also should encourage gender equality and the participation of women.
We have concluded discussion on recommendation number 3. Please indicate your endorsement of this recommendation by raising your country's placard. Majority approval confirms the recommendation. Endorsed.
The third and final session will be on the topic of Core Commitment 3. Commit to improve preparedness for disaster and climate-related risks by investing in early warning and early action, and commit to developing mechanisms for securing financial assistance when needed. The speakers for this session will be the representatives from the Republic of the Marshall Islands, Vanuatu, Kiribati, and United States of America. Upon conclusion of each panel, the chair will note recommendations from each country, and this will be the focus of ensuing discussion. We will now call upon the representatives of the Republic of the Marshall Islands to please take the floor.
Ali, thank you fellow delegates, and thank you Chairman for welcoming us to your beautiful islands and for allowing us to be part of this 2016 World Humanitarian Summit. We are the representatives of the Republic of the Marshall Islands. The Marshall Islands is located in the North Pacific between Japan and Hawaii. Our country boasts sprawling chains of flat coral atolls, the remnants of volcanic craters, and is home to the world's best navigators. Our people came upon these pristine islands during the 2nd millennium BC. Over time, they were able to teach themselves how to navigate by using stick charts, reading the waves, currents, wind direction, and the stars that bathe our beautiful atolls. Our islands are home to more than 55,000 people. These people are just mere civilians trying to make a living, enjoying their lives as islanders, and clinging to what's left of their culture. My mother wears moons with pride. She grew up in the Namrik Atoll with the rest of her 7 siblings and my boo in a summer house-like home. When my mother was young, my grandmother would hang a bunch of bananas in their laundry room, waiting for it to get fully ripe, as my mother and her siblings would play juggling rocks or noni outside. Once the bananas got fully ripe, she would make her famous fried banana, otherwise known as taibut, and would make my mother and the rest of her children share it to the other kids in their community. My mother loved Namrik and the people that lived there, the same way we feel for our stunning atolls and our people. The land is more like an identity to us Marshallese.
Living on coral atolls with limited supply of water makes us extremely vulnerable to the effects of climate change. In 2013, and again right now, we are suffering from a great drought. This drought brings along health epidemics such as pink eye, diarrhea, and influenza. Our atolls in the north are surviving on 1 liter of water per person. That's only 0.26 gallons of water per day. Our country is also very susceptible to tidal inundations that have been increasing in past 10 years. In 2014, all in one event, 1,000 of our people were left with no home due to encroaching tides. We use desalination machines to get fresh water. We have suffered from 18 disasters over the past 20 years, such as typhoons, inundations, and droughts affecting around 12,700 of our people. We've seen our homes being flooded often in our own backyards. How our lives can be threatened. We live in climate change era. Fortunately, the U.S. has supported us through the government agencies under our Republic's free association status to provide us for under humanitarian and other vital support. Relief efforts for the drought and other disasters cost millions of dollars. While vulnerable, we still find a way to resolve it and let the whole world know. While we do have a national action plan for disaster risk management that will expire in 2018, we will require the help of outside funds to implement it. But our country is not a major contributor to climate change. We are just one of the many vulnerable islanders on the receiving end with nothing but our culture and our children in our hands. If this ceases to continue, our God-given islands will ultimately disappear from the face of the earth. Where will we go? Where will our children go? While fearful, in the Marshall Islands we still say, we are not wrong, we are fighting. And therefore, the Marshall Islands, under core commitments, we recommend that the more developed and richer countries of the world give more assistance to our islands and other more vulnerable nations to increase the efficiency of our early warning systems by investing in more advanced weather predicting instruments and the technical assistance to manage them ourselves. For more time, we now give the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, honorable representatives from the Republic of the Marshall Islands. We now call upon the honorable representatives from Vanuatu to please take the floor.